So I can write it as the nth root of a to the power of m, where the denominator goes the radical, and then the numerator goes as an exponent, okay? Or I can write it as same thing, n, a, and then all to the power of m. That's the same thing, okay? It doesn't matter which way you write it. Now, when I'm looking at my conditions, m has to be an integer, so it has to be a whole number, okay? So m is an integer. N has to be a natural number, and when we say a natural number, we mean it's positive integers. So it can't be a decimal, right? It has to be a positive integer. It can't be negative either. Okay? So it's a positive, it's an integer that is greater than 0. And then we have to say that a, which is the base, has to be greater than or equal to 0 if your root, if n is even. Okay? Because I can't take the even root of a negative number, right? If I have, let's say, the root of, or the square root of negative 16, right? That's not possible. I can't find the answer for that. However, if I have the cube root of negative 8, yes, I can find the answer for that. It's negative 2. And in this case, that's because the root is an odd root, right? Odd root, I can find the negative answer for it. Are we okay with that? All right. So remember that radical means the root, and then rational means there is an exponent in fraction form. Okay? This is important here because the question is going to ask you either to write it in radical form or to write it in rational form, and you have to be able to convert between the two forms. Okay? So this question is asking to rewrite each expression using rational exponent. So rational means fraction, right? So how would I write square root of 25 as a rational exponent? So your base is 25, and then the exponent is 1 over 2. Right? So there is a root 2 here. There is a 2. And then the exponent on the 25 is 1, right? If there's no exponent, it's 1. How about B? What would I answer for B? So to the power of 1 over 3. I put the negative 125 in bracket because all of it is under the root, right? So all of it has to be under the exponent. Are we okay with that? All right, how about C? So what's my base? And then what goes as the exponent? 3 over 4. So again, this goes on the top, the exponent goes on the top, and whatever is in the root goes and in the denominator. Okay? So look at example 2. It says rewrite each expression in radical form and then evaluate. So that's the opposite of what we just did. So we're going to move it back to the radical form. Okay? So how would I write 81 to the power of half as a radical form? Square root of 81. Yep. How about negative 64 to the power of 1/3? Cube root of negative 64, all of it under the root. And how about 32 to the power of 4/5? So I know it's going to be a root. Which root is it going to be? The fifth root of 32 to the power of 4. Good? All right. Now, we need to understand that the root, so the 1/2 and basically, so this and this, they're opposite of each other, okay? So whenever I want to get rid of a square, I have to square root, right? So what happens is that they cancel each other, the square root and the square. And the reason for that is because of this. So if I have x squared, and I put it to the power of, if I raise it to the square root, what happened is this is actually x squared to the power of 1/2, yes? Because the root is 1/2. Are we okay with that? Now, if I do 1/2 times 2, what does that give me? 2. So 1/2 times 2, that's 1, right? 2 halves, that's 1. So that's going to give me x. And that's why they cancel, is because when you multiply them, they become 1. Okay? So let's say if I had x to the power of 4, how would I get rid of that 4? The fourth root, right? So when I do the fourth root, that's the same thing as x to the power of 4 to the power of 1/4, right? If I multiply my exponent, 4 times 1/4, that's a whole. That's 1. So that's x. Okay? So anytime I want to cancel an exponent, I have to raise it to the root of that exponent, right? So let's look at this question. This question is asking for the unknown variable x if I have x to the power of 4 equals 16. So how do you solve for x? Fourth root, right? And then when I do that to one side, I have to do it to the other side, right? So I have to raise it to the fourth root of x to the power of 4. And I have to do the same thing for the other side. So that's going to be the fourth root of 16. Fourth root of 16 is 2. So that's going to be x equals 2. The next one I have x to the power of 3/2 equals negative 27. So how can I isolate for that x?
We have square root of the cube value of 27 minus 1.
But this is already that. Okay, so let's write this as a radical form. Okay, it might be easier if we write it as a radical form. So a radical form would be the square root of x cubed. Yes?
27.
Yes? Now, let's look at how can I eliminate these square root and the cube. Okay? What do I do to eliminate the square root? What's the opposite of square root? Square. Right? Opposite of square is square root. Opposite of square root is square. So to get rid of that square root, the first thing I have to do is I have to square. Yes? Because what happened is the square root and the square, they are opposite of each other. So now what I would have left, I have x cubed equals to negative 27 to the power of 2. Remember, I'm isolating for that x. Now, I have x cubed equal to this. So what do I do to get rid of that cube? Cube root. So I have to cube root both sides. So that's going to get rid of that's going to get rid of the cube. So that leaves me with x equals to cube root of negative 27 squared. Yes? Now, my question to you, can you write that negative 27, the cube root of negative 27 squared as a rational, sorry? So can you write this as a rational for me? What would it be? Negative 27 to the power of what? 2 over 3. Now what I want you to do is I want you to compare this to what we started with. What is it? So what's the difference or what's the similarities between what I'm ending up with and what I started with? It's a reciprocal, right? So if I know that my exponent is 3 over 2, to get rid of that exponent, all what I have to do is I have to raise both sides to the reciprocal of the exponent. Right? So technically, I could have done this in one step, and I could have went, okay, I have x to the power of 3 over 2 equals to negative 27. All what I have to do is I have to raise this to the power of 2 over 3, raise this to the power of 2 over 3, because whatever I do to one side, I have to do to the other. These are going to cancel, so I'm going to be left with x equal negative 27 to the power of 2 over 3. Is that the same answer I ended up with? Yes. Right? So instead of doing it step by step, I went right away to the answer. Okay? Now, is it wrong to do it step by step? No, it's not. Okay? As long as you know what you're doing and you don't mess up in the middle. So what's the negative 27 to the power of 2 over 3? Is it negative? It's going to be positive, no? What is it? Okay. How are you entering it in the calculator? Power. That's the power. Okay. Nope.
No, that's not. Cancel. Oh my gosh. Delete.
Yes.
How do I get
Over.
it?
No, keep it up there. Yep. Yep. Do this. 3.
Oh,
Yep.
error.
Shouldn't give you an error. Should be 9.
Okay, well, it's only 243.
Delete. It's giving you math error. Are you getting math error too?
Yeah.
Okay. It should be an answer of, so if you do it step by step, right? If I do negative 27 to the power of 2, what does that give you?
Negative 27 to the power of 2.
Yeah,
Or negative 7.
it should be positive, 700.
Positive 729.
Okay, and then if you do the cube root of that, it should give you 9, no?